Hello guys, I'm Karina.
I'm RJ.
Today we talk about RJ's Grand Seiko and why it took him so long to get it.
Yes, it took a long time. It took me over a year to make a decision between this Grand Seiko, the SBGJ201, also known as the Mt Iwate because it looks like the mountain top of the Iwate.
The snowy top.
Exactly. And the Snowflake, because at first I was really in love with the Snowflake. I saw it in Japan for the first time when I was there with Grand Seiko, and the dial is really amazing because it has this snowy pattern, but it's also a very cluttered dial because it has this this power reserve hand, and it's made of titanium, and I don't like titanium watches. Do you like titanium watches?
I mean, it depends. If the color of titanium is appealing to my taste, I think I like it, like in the 007 Seamaster case, but I don't mind the weight of it. Oh, this is the right way of putting into words. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
what about you? You like heavier watches?
Yes, I want to feel a watch on my wrist, basically. Yeah. I don't want to have the feeling that, oh, my watch is gone. So I like steel or gold when it comes to that. I do have titanium watches, but I rarely wear them, basically. So yeah, the Snowflake is a titanium watch, so I was really warming up to it. Okay. But then, at a beautiful evening, I was invited to the Grand Seiko boutique in Knightsbridge a few years ago. And there they had the Snowflake watch, and I tried. I asked the sales guy, "Oh, can I try it on again?" And so I tried it on and was looking at it, and in the corner of my eye, I saw this watch
beauty
in the display as well. And I said, "Oh, can I try that one?" And because my eye fell on the case shape, which is different from the Snowflake. The Snowflake has more smooth case. Yeah. And this one has more edges and
yeah, it's sharper.
It's sharper. Yeah. It's it's a homage design basically to the 44GS Grand Seiko, which has this grammar of style design. We won't go into that. You can read about it on fratello-watches.com. But I really like that design with all these edges and surfaces. And so anyway, long story short, I was there, I saw the Snowflake, I tried it on, then I saw this one and I tried it on, and I fell immediately in love. Okay, yeah,
cool. So why you find this Grand Seiko so special, and why you prefer it over Snowflake, which is so popular on the internet?
Yeah, I think it's actually the best sold Grand Seiko model there is, the Snowflake.
I think so, yeah.
And yeah, I can imagine it because it's a super nice watch, but yeah, as I said, I prefer steel. And I really love this 44GS case shape. I love the Zaratsu polishing on it, razor sharp. I love the hands, and the hour markers are finished in a really nice way. But it's also the pattern of the dial, and we will show you some close-ups where you can see the dial up close. It's lovely. It has this little structure in it. It's almost like this rice paper.
Yes.
And yeah, that makes it a nicer watch for me. But in the end, I think if the Snowflake would be in this case without the power reserve, I might have gone for the Snowflake, because that Snowflake dial is something really special.
Yeah, the dial of Snowflake is very outstanding, I would say, and it's different. You can't find on the market the same dial as Seiko does. It's, I think, their signature, dial that everyone wants to have.
Yeah, and but there's also good news.
Yes.
Because I have this one, I have the Mt Iwate, and I was still, in my head is still the Snowflake, and I really also, we touch upon it later, the spring drive movement. But I also saw that, and we published on it the other week, that there's a new Grand Seiko in town. Yes. Already nicknamed the White Birch, because it has this structure of these white birch trees. And the story goes that a bit north in Japan, near the Grand Seiko factory, there are forests with these white birch trees. In Poland as well. So many of them. Yeah, and also here in the Netherlands. And for me, the cool story about those is that the house that I grew up in, we had a nice front garden as well. And at the end of the front garden, near the road, we had this white birch tree, basically. So it reminds me of this house that I grew up, and so that's a nice personal touch, I think, that I would have with that watch.
And now you have a reason to buy another Grand Seiko.
I have a reason to buy another Grand Seiko.
Yeah.
I will not sell this one because I really love this Mt Iwate model. They come in different dial colors, at least as a non-limited. This is the white or silvery one. There's a black one. There were also limited edition ones with at least green, and I think later on blue. And perhaps there was another color as well. Can't remember exactly. But for me, this is a very nice watch. It's also a great alternative to other, let's say, not dress watches, but versatile watches, like Aqua Terra or Datejust or Oyster Perpetual. So yeah, it's beautiful, and I love the movement as well. What I don't love about this watch so much, but the Snowflake suffers from the same, is the bracelet design. It has this Speedmaster style bracelet, and I'm not particularly a fan of it because of the polished center links. But the finish is great, and it wears comfortably.
Yeah, I think the finish is great, but this bracelet is not like super beautiful. I think it's too thick, but anyway.
Yeah, you can also wear it on a leather strap, of course. I bought a leather strap for it, 19 millimeters, and that also looks nice, and it also brings out the case more, pops out more.
Okay.
So, which one do you prefer, the Mt Iwate or the Snowflake?
I do prefer this one, mostly because of the dial. This one is simple, while Snowflake has a dial which is like too clutter for me. Also, what I love about this particular model is that the way how Grand Seiko refers to Japanese nature is stunning. I love the polishing, I love razor sharp hands and the case, as you said. So yeah, I would prefer this one over Snowflake.
Okay.
What about the movement? What do you love about it the most?
So this is not a spring drive, and I would love to have a spring drive at some point, but this is a high beat movement, and so it ticks at 36,000 vibrations per hour, and normal watches or other watches often tick at a lower rate, like 28,800 or 21,600. Yeah. So it's a fast ticker, like we also know from Zenith, for example. So the second hand is super smooth, which I like. What I also like about it is that it has a GMT hand, and it works like a real GMT watch, a bit like the Rolex GMT Master, where you can set the normal hour hand independently from the time. And the GMT hand moves along when you just change the time. Okay. And for me, if I travel, I love to have a watch that I can just set the hour hand of where I am, so put it to local time, and I use the GMT hand for home time, so I can see what time it is here in The Hague. Looking at the movement, it's very nicely finished. I mean, it's nice. It has these, well, not Geneva stripes, I guess, perhaps Tokyo striping, I don't know. Beveled angles, and it really looks nice.
It does,
So, yeah, it's a great movement. I think it's a solid movement. Accuracy of Grand Seiko is between -3 seconds and +5 seconds, so a bit more strict than the chronometer standards from COSC. I measured my watch on this Vichy timing device that I have in my office, and its dial up is -2 and crown down is +1. So on average, I think it's really a good performer.
It is. And tell me, how do you rate this Grand Seiko against, as you said, very versatile models from Omega or Rolex?
I think in terms of finishing, so if you look at the case finishing and again the hands and the hour markers, but also the dial structure, I think this is in another league, to be honest.
I think so.
And I think it's above Omega and Rolex. And I mean, I love Omega, I have a few Rolexes, but this is something else. And we compared it in some articles on Fratello, often with AP and Vacheron, and I don't think that Grand Seiko does a lesser job than those.
Yeah, I think so.
For me, it's super amazing that Grand Seiko is able to get this type of finishing out of a watch for the price. Because this watch retails for €6,500 from top of my head. I think the Snowflake is just under that, which is amazing value for money still. When I compare the movement to Rolex and Omega, I think the gap is perhaps a
bit smaller.
Yeah, well, it is becoming smaller because of their new movements, the 9S A5 and 9R A5. But with this movement, I think still Rolex is a step ahead and Omega is still a step ahead because Omega has their master chronometer certification, which means that their watches are between 0 and +5 seconds a day. They have a very proper anti-magnetic resistance. And for Rolex, it's -2 and +2 seconds a day on average. And also after casing, like with Omega, that's a proper difference compared to COSC. So I think there's still a bit of a gap when it comes to the movement of this watch. But I think that gap is becoming smaller and smaller with their new generation of movements.
I totally agree with you.
So the White Birch has that new movement. It has the 9S A5, so I'm definitely looking forward to add that one to the collection as well.
Nice. Okay, thank you for watching. If you would like us to review a specific watch, let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for new uploads.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.
See you.